Hey everybody, this is Mike. Just letting you know that we are working on new episodes. However, some personal things on our end are stopping us from getting them done as soon as we'd like. So we will be continuing with our little Patreon giveaway for another week. That's right. Since we did last year's Halloween that isn't Halloween, we decided to, throw you a bone and give you some Halloween that is Halloween. So we're going to be kicking off a little early with our Patreon episode from last year, which is Halloween 1 and 2. That's right, the original two parts of basically the one single really long movie. And we had a lot of thoughts on this. We enjoyed it. We hope you enjoy us talking about it. And we may be a little late next week for our special episode 69. But we're taking our time with it because we want to make sure it's done right. And we certainly don't screw up a special number like that, especially on especially me, since I'm a dirty old little boy. So enjoy this episode, which is a little late, but hey, you're getting it for free now, and other people had to pay last year to get it, so enjoy that. And we have a special Halloween month lineup for you, and it may be a little off schedule, but we're gonna make sure that it's going to be worth the wait. So enjoy this for now, and think of it as a taste of more Halloween yummy sweet treats to come. See you later. The following extra episode of the Graveyard Shift is a Patreon exclusive made possible by you. You made this possible. You chipped in, you supported the show, and you wanted more banter, more facts, more production notes, more goofing around with Sheldon and Mike. And guess what? You're getting what you wanted because you deserve it, you beautiful, wonderful donor. Enjoy.
Hello, Patreon horror heads, and welcome to the Graveyard Shift's Patreon exclusive Halloween episode. If you are listening to this, then it means two things. First, you must really enjoy hearing the two of us talk. And second, it means that you have enough extra money lying around that you are willing to give us some of it. In both cases, thank you very much. And yes, I said the two of us because something as important as making a show people actually pay money to listen to requires the efforts of more than one person. So please say hello to my co-host, Mike.
Hey, everybody.
Mike, thank you for joining me on another Patreon show.
Woohoo.
So why don't you tell everyone what we have for them this month?
Oh, this month, you lucky, generous people, we finally get to hear the Halloween that is Halloween because we watched Halloween 1 and 2.
That's right. So you get 2 bangs for your buck this month. And I know...
Chicka wow, chicka wow wow.
Now, I know we said for our regular show we were not going to do the Halloween movies because just about every podcast or YouTube channel that does the horror movies does Halloween for its first Halloween episode. But we also felt like we had to cover these movies in some capacity because they are great and they are very important to horror movies, horror movie history, I should say. Halloween didn't invent the slasher genre, but I'm fine with saying that it perfected it. And with that in mind, we decided to make it our October Patreon episode. And Mike, we decided to do both of them because we were talking earlier on and we both agreed that since Halloween 1 and 2 are basically 2 chapters of the same story, we decided to go ahead and cover both in one shot, right?
Yeah, and hopefully it will be less than a double-length episode.
Yes, I don't think there's any need to do. Since they were they were basically one continuous story. We thought we could knock it out in one episode. So, before we get into it, here are some facts about Halloween 1 and 2, and I guess it makes sense for me to do number 1 first. So, here it goes. Halloween is an American slasher film directed and scored by John Carpenter and starred Jamie Lee Curtis and Donald Pleasance. It was actually Jamie Lee Curtis's first movie role. Yeah, she looked good in this. It had a budget of $300,000 US, so not an expensive movie by any means, and had a box office return of approximately $70 million.
Mission accomplished.
That is quite the fucking return. And that actually makes it one of the most successful independent movies ever. And don't forget, that number doesn't include home video sales or rentals. This is just asses in seats money.
What, did you say independent?
Yeah. Totally financed like what money John Carpenter and his team could raise on their own.
Wow, so this was like their Evil Dead.
Pretty much, yeah. And so, good job.
Wait, so Carpenter didn't do any movies before this?
I think this might have been his debut, because I think before this, he was just known as a composer.
Wow, after this...
Now, don't quote me on that.
I gotta say, Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell fell a little short.
Don't quote me on that. Now, I didn't do the research on that. It's just what I'm going from what I think happened right now from like things I've heard, but I'm pretty sure he was just basically known as a composer. And this was his debut.
Yeah, so you think they're bringing him back, aren't they, at least to do the music for the new Halloween movie?
Yeah, and apparently the new one is going to completely disregard any of the sequels other than part 2. Like it's going to be like the true story.
Actual 3.
Yeah. So this one has a 93% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and an 89% audience score, and I think that is well deserved. So, as for the plot, 15 years after murdering his sister on Halloween night, 1963, Michael Myers escapes from a mental hospital and returns to the small town of Haddonfield to kill again. I think everyone pretty much knew the story. Now, as for Halloween 2, it was released in 1981, and it is also an American slasher that was directed and scored by John Carpenter and also starred Jamie Lee Curtis and Donald Pleasance. It had a $2.5 million budget, so quite substantially higher than the first one, but it made $25.5 million in the box office. So...
What? People weren't that interested in seeing how it ended?
I guess not. So still, I mean, that was good return, but not nearly as good. It just goes to show you that when it comes to what makes a movie good, the budget is not on the top of the list. So Halloween 2 has a 63% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. That's a significant drop. Now, what do you think the critic score is?
72?
Not even close. 31.
What?
I know, right? I think that's a little harsh. Like, I mean, I can understand people not liking it as much as part 1, but to go from a 93 through 31, I think that was a little rough. So as for the plot of this one, literally taking place right where Halloween ended, Michael Myers shows his brute power by continuing his murder spree after being shot 6 times and falling off a balcony. Laurie Strode is once more his intended victim, with Dr. Loomis again in pursuit. So, there you have it. 2 movies, 1 story. So yeah, much bigger budget, much lower box office returns, I guess is the lesson of number 2.
Wow. So it's like, don't spend money because you never know how much you're going to get back.
Yeah. Okay, so now with all that out of the way, let's carve up these 2 like a fresh pumpkin. So let's kick it off right away with part 1. What did you like about it?
Oh, excellent opening. Beautiful orange font, black background,
yeah.
with a slow close-up on a jack-o'-lantern with chilling music.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, within 4 minutes, tits. So, within the first 4 minutes, Mike is happy.
Yep. I actually have in my notes, great credits, great opening, boobs. Mike is going to love it. So, yeah, that's a great way to kick it off. And that jack-o'-lantern that you see at the beginning, it's so simply carved, but it's creepy as hell. I've always loved that jack-o'-lantern.
Especially with the way they close up on it.
Yeah. So, for my first like, and this is no surprise to anyone that's familiar with this movie, I like the musical score. This thing, John Carpenter created something that became an icon. Like, this music is something that even people that have not seen the Halloween movies know what the music is. It is like, I think it's equivalent. I think it's as significant as the Jaws theme.
Oh yeah,
that is something that...
Except that it's so complicated, it is hard to replicate. Like do 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 do. Like I can't even remember, but like when you hear it, it's just
like, you know it right away.
It's more complicated, but just as memorable as Jaws.
Mm-hmm. So,
although everyone can go, you try to do the Halloween theme right now and try to remember it.
Yeah. Okay, it goes kind of like.
Ding 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 ding. Like,
yeah, I know, and it's kind of like, we talked about the Jaws theme song. It's like everybody knows the da da. But it's after that everybody, like, you ask a dozen people and you'll get like a dozen different tunes. Yeah, so it's and you're right, like, this one is very recognizable, but not everybody can repeat it because it is a very complex piece of music. Like, don't get me wrong, it is not a symphony or anything like that, but it's not.
It's like trying to replicate the Halo theme.
Yeah.
You end up going like, oh,
exactly.
I do can.
So I had to mention that for sure, because I mean, you get hit with it right at the opening and you're like, wow, it is impressive. So had to throw that in. So what do you got next?
After seeing Truth or Dare, I have to appreciate when we get to see an asylum without a storm warning, or thanks to Trick or Treats, seeing inmates not acting like cartoons. Although I do have to ask, who the fuck would give Mike Myers driving lessons and directions to Hattonville or Haydenville or Hatfield and McCoy, wherever the fuck this town is? This entire movie simply, should have been the funniest and bloodiest road trip, with him plowing into gas stations, clumsily filling up the car, stealing maps, figuring them out poorly, getting lost, and killing every hitchhiker and highway patrolman that gets in his way, until he's got numerous police forces that gun him down at the end. Then someone turns their back and sees a trail of blood leading into the woods, and then it ends with him approaching the Haydenville city limits. But I suppose this movie's fine.
So basically, it should be the Rob Zombie movie.
I don't know, that movie wasn't about entirely how he got there, but that movie had problems. Killing Danny Trejo, what the hell? I mean, he was nice to Mike. He called him Mikey. He was always polite to him and sweet. And he's the first guy Mike kills.
Yep.
This doesn't make any friggin' sense.
Well, lunatics are rarely loyal, so.
Yeah.
But
usually, when you see clumsy henchmen, they usually side with the hero because at one point the hero was nice to them.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the Rob Zombie movies are going to be a topic of discussion in the future.
Oh yeah, they may end up being next year's Patreon.
Yeah.
But I did like how he escaped the asylum and it explained how he got his little his jumpsuit. Though why he bothered to put on a jumpsuit when he also decided, I'm going to put on a stupid mask, because if the work suit was to deflect attention away from him, I'm pretty sure wearing a painted over Shatner mask is kind of the opposite of deflecting attention.
Yeah, for sure. So, what I got next on my list is the imagery of this movie. It just really drives a quiet but yet a sinister Halloween. Not a lot of decorating, just a lot of dark houses and some jack-o'-lanterns. The best way I can describe it is cleverly eerie.
Yeah, a somber suburb.
Exactly. Yes. All right, so what you got next?
What I loved is the girls' dialogue. The dialogue between these three girls is fucking hilarious. When one of the girls is talking about her boyfriend and how he's like, she wanted to spend time with him, but he's in detention or something. And the girl says, "Oh, what was on your mind? Exploring uncharted territory?" And without missing a beat, her other friend kicks in and goes, "Oh, that's been totally charted." And then, yeah, because Lori says, "I have to babysit this kid," and she's happy to do it. She's not upset that she's stuck babysitting. Like, she's one of those boring people that actually has nothing better to do on Halloween night, so she's actually happy to babysit this kid. And one of her friends says, "Oh, the only reason she babysits is to have a place to," and then Lori forgets something and goes, "Oh, shit." And then her friend says, "I have a place for that."
Yeah.
And then when they see Mike drive by, they say, "Hey, speed kills." And if Mikey wasn't a silent murderer, I'm pretty sure he would have stopped the car and said, "No, I do." When Mike stops and then, like, hits the gas again later, like, I don't know what the hell was going on in that scene. But then the friend says, "I hate a guy with a car and no sense of humor." I'm not sure what the hell that means. Like, it's a shame he has a car because he's so fucking boring. And then another one says, and then, like, right at the end of their little diatribe, the friend says, "Man, you think your Halloween's bad? I've only got 3 choices. Babysit, listen to Linda screw around, or talk to you." So the way these girls sass each other, it wouldn't pass the Bechdel test, but these are, like, I wouldn't mind watching, like, a non-fatal version of this, where these 3 girls are just super batting their way throughout the week, trying to go to a party and decide, like, who's going to get their V card punched. And
Yeah, that's true. So next on my list, I gotta say, as we mentioned it a little bit earlier, but Jamie Lee Curtis as Lori. This was her film debut, and man, she nailed it. She was very believable when it came to her terror expressions, especially. I love that. Any of the times when she was supposed to act scared, man, she really looked like she was scared. All around, she pulled off a good acting job, but she really stood out amongst the rest of the cast. I'm going to get more into that later on, but yeah, I think you knew right away if you say it was 1978, you're in a theater watching Halloween for the first time, and this is the first time you see Jamie Lee Curtis. Most people, most like fairly intelligent people, are going to be like, yeah, look out for her because she's going to be a star.
yeah, we're going to see more of her.
Definitely.
And then when you watch Trading Places, you got to see a lot more of her.
So, yeah. So, what else you got?
Just various scenes, like when Michael encounters the guard dog, and then you don't get to see too much. Like, half of it is off camera, but you just get to see the dog's legs dangling and twitching as he's, like, gasping, and then you hear, like, a crunch and you see, like, the legs snap and the dog goes limp. It's like, what? This is it's kind of intense.
It tells you right off the bat that Michael's pretty hardcore. Like, I mean, that was already pretty much established, but holy shit. Like, that is some power right there.
Oh, that like a dog isn't a problem. That like this thing is just totally dominating this beast.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Laurie's putting on the movie for the kids, and they're watching The Thing, from another world,
which, holy shit, like, you know, John Carpenter's like, which I could be wrong. Like I said, I think it was his film debut. Maybe it's not, but in any case, you know, he had to put his what he called his favorite movie, give a little tribute to that in Halloween, and then only a few years later, he directed a remake of The Thing from Another World, which is so high on my favorite movie lists that, like, it's very close to the top, which is The Thing with Kurt Russell, because goddamn, so good.
I want to see a dog's face open like a flower, because
Yep.
I am a disturbing motherfucker.
Maybe he's got a problem with dogs.
And then there was other things like Dr. Loomis taking time out of his lunatic hunt to scare some kids that are hanging around the old Myers house.
Hey, he was protecting them.
I've got one more but I'll save that for the end.
Well, okay, because I've got a few more.
Okay.
Well, I've got one more for part one, I should say.
Yeah, me too.
And you mentioned, you mentioned Dr. Loomis, because I fucking love Dr. Loomis. The way he took control of finding Michael, like, he basically went, the police aren't going to do shit, I got this. I mean, how many other psychologists are running around with a gun looking for an escaped killer?
Well, that weird shaggy doctor that looks like Sam Kinison from Critical Madness.
That's true, yeah, which I think might have been...
He was waiting in the shower for some fucked up reason.
I think we mentioned that, didn't we? Didn't we actually mention that? Who does he think he is, like Dr. Loomis?
Yeah, we called him Dr. Loomis.
Yeah, so I don't remember if it was you that said it, or... But I remember that coming up, and that's when I watched this movie again for probably the 10th time. That was when I was like, oh yeah, we were calling the doctor from Critical Madness Dr. Loomis.
And there was no setup for him. No establishing him as a secondary character or nothing. He just showed up, made some weird comments about how, I don't know what the hell it was, but he just made some weird comments. It's like, oh, we let that guy out again? Huh. And then, like, 50 minutes later, he's waiting in the shower. It's kind of like, this is how Psycho should have ended. Bang, 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 bang.
Okay. We've already talked about Critical Madness, so let's stay on Halloween.
The question is, did we talk enough?
I think we did. Let me tell you, I feel like we did. So yeah, Dr. Loomis was pretty damn cool. I liked him. So, and that was a great scene, too, where he scares the kids away from the Myers house. That was just good.
It's like, oh, you can tell he's enjoying it. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, this is my sacred duty to protect these children before they run afoul of this wretched beast. He's like, oh, it's Halloween, there's some kids, I'm gonna go fuck with them.
Yeah.
That he took time out of his day to engage his inner child.
Okay, so you got one more for Halloween 1?
Yeah, my last like for part 1. The last 20 minutes of this is fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it ends with his breathing and the music. Oh, it's so damn good.
Yeah, that was. Totally agree. So, yeah, we get to see, we knew, and there was no hinting around, like, there was no, like, oh, is he dead or is he alive? Like, they said, like, ha, you think this is over just yet? Nope, you got another movie to come, fuckers.
Yeah, but we wouldn't know it at the time because he got stabbed into the brain, basically, with a fucking coat hanger.
Yeah.
And then shot point blank multiple times, and then drops off the second-story window.
Yep, stabbed in the neck with a knitting needle before that.
Yeah, this guy should be bleeding profusely.
And let me tell you something. I don't know. I can just imagine what it'd be like to be stabbed in the neck with a knitting needle, because I was actually partially impaled on a knitting needle when I was a kid. I came home from school one day. Nobody else is in the house. I make a run for the living room because I'm thinking, like, I'm probably 9 years old, and all I'm thinking is I just get home from school. There's no one around, no one in the living room. It's Nintendo time. Get a chance to get some Nintendo in before someone else is, like, hogging the TV. So I run for the living room, turn on the Nintendo, and then I make a flying leap onto the couch, directly onto my mother's knitting. I stuck her fucking iron knitting needle about 1.5 inches into my hip. So I felt a little bit of sympathy for Michael Myers when I see that scene and he gets stabbed in the neck.
Usually when a friend of mine identifies with a serial killer in the movie, I start to worry, but I'll give you a pass on this one.
I thought you were going to say, usually when a friend of mine identifies with a serial killer in a movie, it's John.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy that would be like, the girl I bought on the internet missed her family, so I ordered her sister to. I am a generous god.
Oh my god. So, okay, so now here's the thing. Since this was one story, I'm wondering if we should go ahead with likes for part 2 or go into the dislikes for part 1.
Man, the way my notes are organized, we'll just do the dislikes for part 1.
Oh, you would, wouldn't you? All right.
You fucking would.
All right, whatever. I can do this. I'm a reasonably intelligent guy. I can rearrange these things in my head. All right, so I'm going to take the dislikes for part 1.
All right.
Laurie's friends. Her friends were some of the most annoying people ever.
But they were so cute and frisky.
You shut your face. Honestly, during the most recent time I watched this, I was rooting for Michael. Mike, come on, man, they're all idiots. They're oh my god, they're first of all, let's look at the actors, because when it comes to the death scenes, it is some of the worst overacting ever. Especially the one that got strangled in the car, that went into her bulgy-eyed death stare, like death face, after Michael took his hands off her neck.
Cross-eyed Shelley Duvall.
Jesus, yes. But just the two like horny ones that are just like, they're like, honestly, neither one of them spoke a line in the movie that didn't have something to do with how much they wanted to fuck. And honestly, no.
Are you trying to discourage that type of talking women?
No, I am not. I'm just saying that these two. I got no problem talking with people talking about how much you want to fuck all the time. Just don't do it in such an annoying way.
Yeah, at least, tell me if it's like smoking pot on a waterbed.
Like, they are the equivalent of if this movie was filmed in 2017. They are the equivalent of the teenage girls that would start every sentence with, "Oh my god."
Oh my god, I totally like getting boned.
So, yeah, I did not like these people. Honestly, I think as much as I like this movie, the only characters I liked are Michael, Laurie, and Dr. Loomis. Everyone else can go fuck themselves.
Well, I was swayed by the boobs and their cuteness.
Okay, so tell me something you didn't like about this one.
Dislikes. The first kill in the movie, it tried for a good first-person moment, and it's great for the suspense part, but it just seems like bad acting from the gal, and the overhead knife strike seems really easy to dodge.
Yeah.
Like, stay in place and scream multiple times to get stabbed? How about he's a child? The moment he stabs you and you realize, oh, it's on, fucker. Then you can twist and scream. If you can twist and scream while sitting down and getting knifed, you could rush the little psycho. If it was from behind and a one-hit kill, that would have been great.
Yeah. No,
Like if she was just doing her hair, you see the reflection of Mikey in the mirror with the Halloween mask, and then a knife comes out of nowhere and jabs her in the back. That would have made sense. She never saw it coming, couldn't have resisted, but when she shows up, she knows it's him. She calls him Mikey, and like sees the knife and screams before getting stabbed.
how old was he?
And then
how old was Michael in this? Was he 6 years old? I think he said
6.
6. Okay, my son is 9, and sometimes my son has trouble jamming a straw into a juice box. But like this little punk like just like killed like a full-grown adult with a knife, like very easily.
Multiple times, no resistance.
Yeah.
This is like the mom from Pieces.
Yes, exactly. With like where she got her head almost split in half with like the lightest axe blow ever.
As the hammer bounced off her head.
Yeah.
Instead of going into it. So, yeah.
I mean, I get it, and I mean, I don't think I could be very wrong because now we're going to get like a bunch of people like saying like, oh no, I'm going to give you a lesson in the history of horror. I'm going to say it's probably one of the, at the time, there wasn't a lot of these POV shots done when it came to movies like this.
Oh, it was a great attempt.
It was a great first attempt, but I know what you mean.
It's brave.
It looked very, very odd, very mechanical.
That hand that went up and down in front of the light. I mean, like it was just so bad. And they could have reconciled it with just a more sensible kill.
Yes, in real life, I know you're supposed to have like a bit of sustained belief when it comes to any horror movies, but
or at least like walk up behind her and then knife in front of the throat, slash, and that way she can't scream.
Yeah, the force that he was putting into stabbing, it wouldn't have. I don't think it even would have penetrated skin. It would have just like pissed you off. You would have been like, "Ow! What were you doing, dude? That thing's sharp."
I know. And after the first one, like, this, how many cases? Like, oh yeah, also Pet Cemetery. Like, so many cases where, yeah, the killer is a fucking toddler. Just rush the bastard.
Well, at least
he's 100 pounds.
At least in Pet Cemetery, I mean, like it was some kind of demon possession like thing going on. So who knows what kind of if they had some supernatural strength involved. But this was just I mean, he might have been psychotic, but he was just an ordinary kid.
Yeah.
So yeah. Way to be a wuss, like, Laurie's sister, whatever.
We need to see some kids getting punted like footballs.
Yes, I agree.
I advocate child flight.
So, yeah. So for next on my list, I don't like how many times Laurie puts her guard down after injuring Michael.
Yeah, finish the fucker.
Fuck.
Finish him.
How many times do we, like, I mean, you see him, like, throughout the course of both of these movies, you see him, like, lying on the floor and then just, like, quickly sit up, like, 4 times.
Yeah. You think after the first time you'd be like knitting needle in the neck, he falls down, and then jam it into his fucking heart, and then, 5 or 6 times, make sure that bastard isn't going to get up again.
I get attacked.
Then you can call the police and go, hey, by the way, there's a dead asshole in my house.
Some asshole's in my house and attacks me, and I managed to get him, like, knocked down on the floor. I'm not going anywhere until I, like, stomped his head into fucking pudding on the carpet.
Yeah, you got to stomp that throat until the head is no longer attached to the shoulders.
Yeah. My wife watched this with me as well, the most recent time I watched it, and she was saying the same thing. Like, right from the first time, as soon as she stabbed him in the neck with a knitting needle and he pulls it out and staggers and falls down, she's like, okay, now pick up the knife and stab him. What are you waiting for? No, don't turn your back on him. Are you stupid?
Don't leave a job half finished, you dumb bitch.
Exactly. So
lazy.
Just shame on you, Laurie. You seem so smart in other regards. But anyway, what do you got next?
All right, we're at the asylum.
Mm-hmm.
Lunatic jumps on car. Woman who is safe inside this car opens window, aka viable protection, instead of honking horn to get Loomis to deal with him, or at least get his attention so she could flank him and part his hair with a tire iron from the trunk. 10 minutes in, And two of these women are painted as shrieking idiots.
Yep. Yeah, it didn't do much to like, show the intelligence of the women in this movie. I'm glad you said it too, because actually my final dislike for part one was that scene. Not that I didn't dislike the scene. I shouldn't say that. I'm just thinking that, like, on the part of Loomis, he's so smart throughout the rest of the movie, but at the beginning, like, obviously there's some kind. You pull up to that and you see the scene. There's obviously some kind of issue there. He should have listened to the nurse who said go straight, turn around and go back straight to the hospital, because something's obviously up. Call the police and get them involved. But no, he has to stop the car and get out and go and check to see what's going on at the gate, and exactly what Myers was waiting for. So, yeah, that was the whole... Everybody in that scene, like, all of a sudden turned into an idiot. So was that your final dislike for Halloween 1?
I'm looking at my next note, but it looks like a light. It looks like a like, but I put it in the dislikes column. I guess I was distracted at this point. So...
Mike. Dude. Trying to keep this thing professional, Mike, and you just gotta fuck with it.
Well, this is my only chance seeing my notes after. And, okay, so, like revisited. After killing the guy... The guy with the glasses, after he's banging his blonde boo.
Yeah.
After Mike kills this guy, like, lifting him up almost to the ceiling, and then pinning him to the cupboard with the knife, which was pretty damn cool, he actually stops and admires his handiwork for a minute.
Yeah.
Like, he's just staring at him like, man, I knew I could stab the knife through his body, but I really didn't think I could, like, support his entire weight with what I pushed through.
He's, like, looking at it, doing the head tilt, and he's like, man, I am quite the badass.
I am fucking buff. All those nights I spent doing push-ups for the last 15 years definitely paid off. Mm-hmm. So then he goes as Ghost Bob with glasses. And he chokes out the blonde with the phone cord. And I gotta say, it's amping up at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that's my final dislike / forgotten lost like.
All right, I'll give you a pass for this one, but don't let it happen again. Okay. So, now that we've got the dislikes and likes covered for part 1, let's go to part 2.
Well, wait, there was what the fucks, isn't there?
No, let's do
the
what the fucks at the end.
Oh, all right.
Let's save all the what the fucks for one shot.
All right, I'll move it over.
Damn right you will. So my first like for part 2, it kind of goes with what you were saying just now about the kills getting amped up, because the kills in part 2 got turned up a notch. Part 1, while they were effective, they were mostly strangulations, and but all the kills in part 2 were very brutal. Like the violence definitely got turned up.
Ooh, getting melted in the bathtub.
Yep.
And that other guy, like, he got his... What was it? The guy that was setting up the bath. Was he strangled, or did he have his face smashed against the glass or the console?
Yeah. And the chick got drowned in the hot tub or whatever?
In the... It wasn't a hot tub. It was like a singeing, melting tub.
Yeah, I'm not sure what killed her, if it was drowning or scalding, but it worked, whatever the case was. But yeah, they definitely said they had to amp it up for part 2, and they certainly did. So what you got?
Okay, well, excellent opening.
Yep.
We're back to the pumpkin, but this time the pumpkin opens up, revealing a skull carved inside it.
Yes.
And that is just fucking amazing. That is just intense. I don't know why it got a lower rating, because right off the bat it's letting you know you're getting more of the same.
You know, it's not. I guess when you think about it, it's not uncommon for a sequel to have like a little less of a showing than the first one, because sometimes you get some people that watch the first one, and people that loved it are going to come back and see the sequel. But you get some people that went into it and it's like, hey, they didn't know what it was going to be about, and they watched it and didn't like it, so those people are not going to come back. You know, so
Yeah, how many of those millions were people that are just like, well, that's the last time I'm seeing a movie like this?
Yeah, exactly. That's you know, I don't know. Some people might have went into the first one thinking it was a, I don't know, documentary on trick or treating. Who knows? But and I'm boring, so I would watch the hell out of that. But yeah.
Who the hell is Sam Hain?
What were we talking about? Oh yeah. So you like the opening, the opening credits with the pumpkin? Yes, I agree, totally.
Yeah, well, they improved on it with a skull inside and opening doors.
Yes.
For the face.
Okay, so you know what, this is going to be out of place, but you know what I liked in part 2? I liked Jill, who I just call Nurse Cutie Pie.
Oh, that was the blonde nurse or the black nurse?
The blonde nurse. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know what it is about her. She's just absolutely adorable. And I'll mention her again in a little while. But yeah, I liked her. I don't know what it is, but she just did it for me.
My second like was, I forgot to write down who said it, but it was just Amazing Grace sit on my face.
Who the hell said that?
So if you can remember who the hell said that, because I know I wasn't daydreaming at this point. Ooh, it must have been like that pervy guy that was trying to get the chick in the hot tub.
Oh yeah,
before it became a hot cauldron.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think so. Anyway, I can't remember right now.
So who the hell was that intern guy that, like, was he an intern? Like, I was distracted because I was with someone, and I was also reaching for some chocolates at the time, or some gummies. But there was the guy that visited Lori, and like, did he know her the second he met her? Or did he just think like, oh, this unconscious and traumatized woman is like really cute. I can't wait to like cozy up to her.
Amazing Grace, come sit on my face. Don't make me cry. I want your pie.
Yeah, that's definitely like Sylvester Stallone Romeo guy.
Yeah. Oh my god. So,
yeah, so who was that guy? Was he like a nurse, an intern, like the guy that was like constantly hitting on Lori?
he was just an intern, wasn't he? Like, or an orderly or something.
Did he know her beforehand? Because he seemed really friendly with her.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not sure if that's established, or I just don't remember it.
Because I know that in the first movie, it was established that her friend was like trying to set her up with some guy, Bobby or something. And the way that he was all like, "Hey, how you doing?" And the way she like opened up to him, I'm like, "Wait a fuck, does she know this guy? Is this Bobby?"
Oh, maybe that's it. Shit, that could be it, man.
Because they seem to get along.
Yeah.
And he seemed to be creeping on her a lot for a guy that's just like, who's used to seeing like injured people. This is like the first injured person that like he wanted to like, you know, like be her hero.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. So do you have something else for what you liked about this one?
Well, speaking of intern Bobby, my last like is just called Bloody Wipeout. Where Nurse White Cutie, because I thought the black nurse was pretty darn cute.
Yeah, dude, she was.
She, like, Nurse White Cutie gets killed in a spectacular fashion.
Yeah, don't say it.
And somehow she gets staged where Mike, for some reason, hooks up her body to an open-ended IV and just exsanguinates her. And while Bobby's running around the hospital, either I don't know if he was aware of a killer at this time, but he runs in, sees the nurse on the floor, on the gurney, and he examines this open vein IV. And only then does he notice that he's standing in a floor of blood. And he tries to run away and immediately wipes out and cracks his head open.
Oh, yeah.
And I just laughed so fucking hard. That earned it an automatic spot on the likes. Like when Mike isn't even in the room and he's already scoring another kill.
Okay, so you want to go into your dislikes?
Oh, my first dislike is everyone is a dum-dum except the black nurse, who's the only one that's got her shit together in that entire hospital, and Lori, and maybe Dr. Loomis.
Well, yeah, I had the same problem with the first one. I said just now, like, I thought everyone besides Lori and Dr. Loomis were idiots. So, yep, I agree there. You got like a few select characters that seem like fairly smart, and then everyone else is just totally stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I got to say about this one is I just said that what I liked was Nurse Cutie Pie. I didn't like that they killed Nurse Cutie Pie. So you can't do that, especially when I don't know how old I was when I saw this movie, probably a teenager, and I'm like, hey, she's cute, I like her. And then they kill her, and they kill her. It was a spectacular kill. I liked the kill.
Oh, man, is it a kill.
Because Michael Myers with this tiny little scalpel knifes her in the back and then fucking picks her up off the floor, like a foot off the floor, reminiscent of like it had the same kind of impact that killing the guy in the first movie with pinning him to the door.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
just a display of strength, but like done much better with this one with
that you can balance a human being's dead weight on a thin blade.
Which must have been directly into her spine. Because if not, like...
Yeah, it's the only thing... He had to hit that vertebrae.
Yeah, and then to pick her up like that, I mean, it was a great kill. I just wish it was someone else other than her, because I'm like, hey, it's Nurse Cutie Pie. And it's like, now she's dead. God damn it. So yeah, I wanted her to live. But I'll give him points. I didn't like that he killed that character, but I'll give him points for giving her a good kill at least. Okay, so what else you got?
The one time screaming in a movie would have helped, and she couldn't. when dumbass intern Bobby somehow survives cracking his skull open, at least briefly, gets into his car where she's hiding, and he seems out of it, like he doesn't know she's there, or like he knows she's there, but he doesn't understand why she's there. And then we realize that, oh yeah, he's probably still bleeding profusely or having his brain poked by his skull. Because then he passes out or dies, undetermined, onto the steering wheel, blasting the horn. Like, hey, Mike. And, like, this fucker can't even die right without causing someone else to be a victim. So Lori gets out of the car, and why can't she scream again? Is she hoarse? Was she strangled? Or
I don't know. She's in a daze or something. Like, she's too traumatized by everything that's happened.
Yeah, so she's trying to scream. She can't. She sees Dr. Loomis, and who else is with him? Stupid cop. And the black nurse? Was she the one letting them in?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's crawling to them in the parking lot, sees Mike. Mike is closing in. She's like, and I'm like, you're a woman in a horror movie. The one thing that you do is scream. And you can't. So that kind of pissed me off.
Yep, I totally agree. So... yeah, I got more dislikes, but basically my dislikes are just a rehash of the first one. Because like everyone's an idiot except you got a couple of characters that were okay, and then everyone else is just a fucking moron. And there's a lot of annoying characters in this movie. So there you go, just a rehash of of part one.
What about you? What about your what the fucks for this duology?
Jesus. So, well, I've got one what the fuck for each movie.
Lay it on
The
me.
first one is not like a big thing. I just thought it was very confusing. Was that Lori is babysitting the two kids. It's established as late at night because she's letting the kids stay up later than normal just because it's Halloween and they're watching Thing from Another World, which, you know, if you're babysitting and that movie's on and you got a couple of kids that want to watch that, let them stay up and watch it because they really should. But I mean, it is late. It's Halloween night. It's late. Trick-or-treaters have pretty much stopped coming. Like, we've seen some trick-or-treaters earlier, but that's all done. Why the fuck is Lori still carving a jack-o'-lantern? At first, I'm like, I just see her cutting into a pumpkin, and I'm like, she's still carving. Why is she carving a jack-o'-lantern now? It must be like late. Like, this got to be like, 10, 11 o'clock at night now on Halloween night.
Yeah, you should have done this shit last night.
And I said, oh, maybe she's just cutting up a pumpkin. Maybe she's gonna make a pumpkin pie or something. This was before like the whole pumpkin spice outbreak, but I'm sure like she was just making something with the pumpkin, like baking a pie, whatever.
She was a skinny white girl. She had to pioneer the pumpkin spice.
But then she turns around with it. It's like, nope, she has a jack-o'-lantern made. So, what? Why? But anyway, that one was minor. Did you have a what the fuck for part one?
Why? Like when in the first couple of minutes, when he's watching his sister getting seduced by this guy, he puts his mask on the counter, and then we see the POV walk up to the camera, walk up and put on the mask. And immediately she calls him Mikey and he stabs her stupidly. She dies. Then the mask gets ripped off him by his parents and we see that it's a child holding a bloody knife. And I have to ask, why wear this guy's mask if she knew who the hell he was right away?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a kid. Kids don't always do things that make sense.
And he still does it later on. Like, why wear the mask if people already know you've escaped the hospital, they know who you are?
Yeah. I thought you were going to say that, you're what the fuck for this one because I put this on my list too. I just didn't go ahead with it. After he walks out of the house, the kid is standing there with the bloody knife. The parents come over and take the mask off him and say, Michael? And then we get almost 30 seconds of them just staring at him. It's like your kid is just standing there with a blank stare on his face, holding a bloody knife, and you're just going to stand there. The mother actually just stands there and actually, like, during that scene, puts her hands in her pockets.
Nobody sees the blood on the knife and nobody runs
Nobody's
upstairs
asking him,
like,
is everything okay? Panicking, runs into the house to see if, what's going on. They just stand on the lawn and stare at this kid.
Wasn't there a police car showing up? Or was it just the parents
Just
standing
the parents standing there.
Weird.
So.
And then, my final, what the fuck is, how hard do you have to slap a car window to crack it?
Pretty damn hard.
Those things are fucking sturdy, especially when you're using widespread pressure.
I don't know if you know it, I'm pretty sure, but I don't know if people that listen to us regularly know that I was actually a firefighter for a while. And
what?
Yeah. Breaking out a car window takes a lot of force. I can't imagine how strong you would have to be to fucking open palm slap a car window and smash it out. Like, in the fire department, we actually had specially designed tools that were made for breaking out a window. Which was basically like this little device that you push against a window that shoots out a little carbine spike that makes the window shatter.
Oh yeah, I've seen them. They fit on keychains now.
Yeah.
It's got a spike on a spring, as well as a super fucking sharp blade to cut through nylon
Yep.
belts.
You can buy those. They're always a great thing to have in your car. Because let me tell you, like, for that purpose, breaking out a car window takes a lot of force. I know you see movies like people like just go over to it and whack it with their elbow or even punch it out.
I'm gonna get inside your car now. Smash, punch.
Yeah, exactly. Let me tell you, you're packing a lot of force behind you if you can do that.
You're breaking bones and cracking skin.
And this wasn't even using his fist. This was an open palm slap. So yeah, that's definitely worthy of a what the fuck.
So what was your what the fuck for part 2?
Oh, this one was much more what the fuckish than my first one. Because for part 2,
Would it be mine?
well, let me guess, is your what the fuck for part 2 the fucking cop ramming the fake Michael Myers?
Oh yeah, the cop plows into this guy holding a trick-or-treat bag with like a white Halloween mask. And there's not even, like, I don't know if the APB is out on Mike Myers yet. Like, nobody's discovered the bodies yet. They know that Laurie Strode's been attacked.
Well,
and
they've discovered the bodies but they just did, because literally like seconds after this happens, the cop pulls up and tells like the other cop that, you know, they discovered the bodies, and one of them is unfortunately his daughter. But
didn't they tell him that after the fucking car bomb?
yeah, but it was literally like seconds afterwards.
Yeah, they like, nobody is like on a murderous vendetta against this guy. This cop just happened to be driving at ludicrous speed.
This through like a residential zone, through like a small street.
Through a neighborhood, a residential zone where you're supposed to be doing 40 max. And that's kilometers. I don't know what it is in miles. And he plows into this kid so fucking hard. The car carries him into a news van, and everything explodes. Like, this kid was carrying nitroglycerin.
But like, just think about this for a moment. Yeah, so what happens is, like, first I'm thinking, like, holy shit, like, this guy saw someone that maybe looks like this killer they're after. We're not even sure if, like, you know, they've got the bulletin put out saying what to look for. This kid kind of looks like it. So this cop saw him, and instead of stopping the car and trying to, you know, subdue him, drawing a gun, he just decides to ram him. But that's what I thought happened, which is ridiculous enough.
If he even decided to ram him.
If that's ridiculous enough. But after this scene, the cop car rams him. They crashes into the side of a news truck and explodes. The cop comes crawling out, and when Loomis and the other cop comes over to him and asks him if he's okay, he says he came out of nowhere. So
he was crossing the street, and he was stopped by a guy asking him to stop.
First of all, he didn't come out of nowhere because he casually like strolled across the street. But still, say he didn't. This guy was nowhere near the scene. Does that mean that cop just would have came flying in the street and just slammed into the side of this news van anyway? Like, what the hell was he doing? Was he drag racing? Like, he just comes tearing in the street and wham into this van.
And the fucking incineration, like, it's just, like,
yeah.
Again, like, there's only so many questions. Like, you have to imagine what the medical examiners
what the fuck was going on there?
When this guy gets wheeled in, like, what the hell is the medical examiner gonna say? Like, was anybody else in the building? Was he the only one that didn't escape the fire? Oh no, he was hit by a car. What, was he run over by a Pinto? Into another Pinto? Like, no, it was just a regular police car into a news van. Was the news stories about how flammable their vans are? No, it was just an accident. A police car running into him down the block from the Myers house. In fact, it might be him. Oh, the policeman was driving fast enough to incinerate him in a residential area? Was someone handing nitroglycerin to trick-or-treaters? Let's just get the demo records to make sure it's not Michael Myers. Oh yeah, sure, because we became doctors not to ask how a police car can immolate a human being on contact. You're pretty blasé over cars that can incinerate peeps. I mean, was it driven by Dick Dastardly and Muttley?
Oh my god. Total craziness. Like, that scene is fucking amazing. If you haven't seen this movie, and I'm sure most people have, if you haven't, what the fuck are you waiting for? Go watch it. But if you, nothing else, just go Google this Halloween 2 car crash. It is fucking amazing. And you know what else? Talking about like idiot characters. So once this happens, and this fake Michael Myers is like totally engulfed in flames and pinned between the van and the car. I mean, you can barely make out that there's a person there because the flames are shooting up so high. And Loomis is just staring at it. The other cop goes, "Is it him?" It's like, I want Loomis to turn around and say, how the fuck am I supposed to know that it's him? This could be like a fucking, I don't know, like a pig roast right now, like as far as I know.
Yeah, that could be Lou Ferrigno in there, and I would have no fucking idea.
Oh, is it him, this guy that's like, has a 10-foot tower of flame shoot coming from his entire body? I don't know, Chief. But yeah,
Did you get your grill from fucking hell? It's like anybody that touches this grill will feel the full fury of Beelzebub's barbecue.
And nothing like the cops trying to put out flames or anything like that. Just stand around and stare at it. I'm not sure.
Well, even they're perplexed. They're like, what the fuck was this kid carrying?
Yeah. But, jeez. Yeah, like, this scene, honestly, it's not quite up there with, like, the movie that with Pieces, the movie that we had to create a what the fuck column for. With that final, like, fucking castration scene at the end. But still, this one is pretty high on the list. It is definitely what the fuck worthy. Because I'm like, either way, this scene makes no sense. Like, either way, this cop has no business being a cop.
No. I mean, like, this guy... Like, I would have loved to see him in NASCAR where he crashes into a wall and the wall bursts into flame instead of him. That would have been... That would be a sight to see.
Amazing.
He just goes into a roller derby. He's the only car that's fine. Everything else is like twisted, flaming metal.
So, was that your what the fuck for this one?
That's it.
Yeah.
He is the Ghost Rider.
Yeah. That's it. So, wow. Yep, so that's it. So if you have nothing else, people, that is Halloween 1 and 2.
Oh, we never did, like, just for the sake of discussing the movie, we never did say how Mike Myers dies after blasting his way, like, oh, I mean, here's another what the fuck. He sees, like, the hospital door has been locked, so what does he do? He just casually walks right through the fucking thing.
Yes.
No force, no smashing, no bracing, no charging. He just takes one lazy step and immediately shatters the glass and the bar in between and just takes a nice stroll, tiptoe through the glass shards with me. Mm-hmm. The cop, like, tells him to stop several times, and then, like, he finally fills him full of lead. Mikey drops, and Loomis is just like, no, he's done this before. Even though Loomis wasn't present for any of that. Oh, maybe it was Laurie that told him. Somebody was saying, like, don't get near him. And he's like, dude, I emptied a clip into him. He's fine. And then, like, he slashes the cop's throat. And then Loomis lures him into a room where he shoots him in the eyes. And apparently the bullets don't rattle around his skull and hit brain. He's just, like, he's shot in the eyes. And instead of being dropped or bleeding, he just starts slashing wildly. And then they distract him with oxygen tanks, and then Loomis decides, well, all this oxygen in the room, well, there's only one thing to do. He whips out a lighter and blows the fuck out of the entire first floor of the hospital.
Yep. It's what should be a definitive end to Myers.
And Loomis.
Mm-hmm. But nope. That's not the last of you seen of either one of them because they both come back for Halloween Part 4. But...
Well, at least they spend an entire movie regenerating.
Yes. They came back for Part 4, but not Part 3. And anyone wondering why there's no sign of Michael Myers or Dr. Loomis in part 3? That,
Well, I guess that gets answered because, well, I think we've got the answer to that, don't we?
we do, because actually what happens for part 3 is that the director, John Carpenter, creator of Halloween, the guy we mentioned a few times already, he actually fully intended for this to be the end of Michael Myers. That he had the story in mind. Part 1 was the beginning, part 2 was the finish, and after that, we were not supposed to see Michael Myers anymore. That was going to be his him leaving the Halloween movies.
That would have been fine with me.
Yeah, what he had actually planned was that each Halloween there would be a new Halloween movie under the titled Halloween, but Halloween blah 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 colon blah 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 whatever that would be like it would have a yearly anthology entry, which to me sounds perfect. Like there would be a new movie called Halloween the whatever, but have a totally different series that has a movie that has nothing to do with the Michael Myers story.
Yeah, it would be like either like Twilight Zone.
Yeah,
Or something,
kind of
but
like
Twilight Zone the series.
or like what
but movies.
American Horror, kind of like the movie version of what American Horror Story is. With each season, it's like still called American Horror Story, but has a completely different story than the past season.
Yep.
Which I think is fine, but apparently audiences didn't grasp the concept of it. The movie flopped because people would rather go see, the same killer come back year after year.
If it's got the name, it's got to be the same.
Exactly. But yeah, that wasn't John Carpenter's intention, and this is something fairly commonly known in with horror fans these days. But back in the 80s, this was not widely known. I guess they can't do great. The marketing campaigns weren't so good. It's not like now where everything's on the internet, so you would know these things beforehand. But we actually found a little something that alluded to this. Audiences didn't get to hear it, but this was something that Mike, I believe, one of your connections discovered.
Yep, when the camera stopped rolling, the microphones didn't, and we got to hear a little bit of the rap party, which answered quite a few, which at least revealed what John Carpenter's vision was as this movie came to a close. And we will now share that with you on this episode's It Came from the Cutting Room Floor. Alright, people, that's a wrap. Halloween 2 is done. Great job, everybody.
Woo! Woo! Yeah! Woo! Amazing! You've got another hit here, John.
I think so. What a journey it's been.
Whew, yeah. I don't know how you can bring Michael back from this, but I can't wait to see what you've got in store for part 3.
Michael's not coming back.
He's not?
Hell no, how could he? He was shot to hell, eyes gouged out, shot out, he was burnt to a crisp. That fucker's dead as dead gets. There's no coming back from that.
Oh, so no part 3?
Oh yeah, there's going to be a part 3. It's just not going to have Myers.
No Myers? John, are you sure that's a good idea?
Sure, you see, now that this story's all done, we can put out a new movie each year under the Halloween banner. It'll be a completely different story.
What would the story be about?
Okay. In this story, this druid priest wants to bring Halloween back to its roots.
Uh-huh.
So he needs to sacrifice a bunch of kids on Halloween.
Ooh, I like it.
And in order to do it, he builds an army of androids to distribute Halloween masks that turn the wearer into a bunch of bugs and snakes and stuff if they watch a certain commercial.
I'm not sure if people are going to like this. Won't they be confused?
Now they'll love it. People would rather see something fresh than the same rehashed slasher each year. I mean, come on.
No, if you say so. I mean, you're the expert.
And you know who's going to star? Tom Atkins.
Tom Atkins. Oh, this is doomed. Cool.
Wow, informative.
Yeah. If only they had listened to that producer, they would have. You know,
That guy
I'm assuming he's
I'm
assuming he's a producer. I mean, he must have had something to do with the production. Sounds like a nice guy. I like his voice, but yeah, like he predicted what was going to happen. You know, like John was pretty confident that people would be able to follow the storyline, but nope, people did not. The producer was right. People were confused, and because people are dumb, we just got Michael Myers coming back year after year, and the series ended with Myers getting the crap kicked out of him by Busta Rhymes.
I got you all in check.
Yep. So, yep. Not exactly the stellar run of sequels that that some movies have gotten.
Myers should have known because Rhymes told us years ago he is dangerous. And you should have a healthy fear of us because too much of us is dangerous. Me and my Flipmo squad is dangerous.
Yeah.
Like he told you he was dangerous. Myers didn't listen.
So, wow. So,
Did you ever see that video?
I did. I try to forget most of the 90s, but...
Buster Rhymes in that video was so freaking hilarious. Him and Whiteface. It was just such a great subversion. And doing like that herky-jerky time-lapsed walk. Ugh. That was so fucking hilarious. When he wasn't like opening his mouth in front of the camera as if he was checking for like if he needed a toothpick.
Yeah, that's true. So, Mike, you got a lot of choices this time around. You know, like sometimes during our weekly regular shows, you get a little limited to some of the choices sometimes, but this one, you certainly got a lot to pick from. So I'm very curious about what you got for us for our final segment.
Oh man, I am thrilled to deliver my kill of the week.
Mike, it's kill of the month.
Oh, kill of the month. Okay, so I have to go with Nurse Goodbody in the Scalding Cauldron, the Scaldron, after Mike fucks with the knobs and kills the knob that brought her into the hot tub in the first place. And he throws her and her skin gets redder every time it comes up from getting the treatment of getting doused in the tub, until eventually you see like skin blistering and peeling off of her face. It's like ultimate wrinkly toes and fingers. And
Yep.
like you're just like, that is, I mean, like, what a way to go that is. And you know, shame on Mike. Like, these two guys weren't hurting anybody. If you wanted to get to Laurie, they would have stayed out of your way by fucking. You didn't have to go after them. It was unnecessary and vile and just disturbing, and that's how a good kill should be.
Yeah, oh, good choice. I totally agree. Yeah, this one, this was a big change for the gore factor, because number one didn't really have any gore. Like, I mean, the goriest scene was probably was the kill with the guy getting pinned to the door,
or the guy getting flambéed by the Crown Vic.
Yeah, but that was part two. I mean, part one didn't have any gore, but
yeah,
part
a
two
lady
certainly
like
did.
a lady like acting like she got her throat slashed, while another one got strangled on the phone line. I mean, like I mean, like, it wasn't even gory per se, but like the sister, when she gets killed, in the beginning you see like the tits are covered in blood. So it's kind of like you got tits, but they're all obscured by blood, and that's gross.
Okay. Well, yeah. So if you haven't seen these movies, and at this point I don't know who hasn't seen the Halloween movies, but just go do it. Like these movies are classic for reasons. Especially the first one. Like I can understand some people maybe not liking the second one as much. I think just because at that point, there was even though the movies take place on the same night, there is actually a 3-year gap between the release dates. So I guess maybe some people, like a lot of slasher movies had come out between that time. Maybe that's got something to do with the reason why number 2 didn't do quite so well. But at the very least, go see part 1. Like, part 1 is one of my favorite movies, not just horror movies, one of the best movies that I've seen. There's a reason why it became such like the iconic movie that it has. So check it out for sure. So that is Halloween 1 and 2. That's our movie coverage for this month. And we hope you Patreoners enjoyed it. And I'm not going to do the Patreon pitch because if you're listening to this, you're already a Patreon member.
Yep.
So thank you for that.
We can spare you that plug.
But of course, you can contact us. You know all about us by now if you're a Patreon sponsor. But you can certainly still contact us. Go on our Facebook page, our Twitter page is in the show notes. Send us a movie suggestion. If you've got a movie suggestion you want us to cover on our regular show, or have an idea for a Patreon exclusive episode, don't hesitate to let us know. You can even just leave a message for us right on Patreon.
Yeah, so, and because you're already shelling out the big buck, we will expedite. Won't guarantee it'll happen right away, but we will definitely put a rush order on anything you suggest because you are awesome people.
Yes. One thing any movie suggestions that we get, we will do them in order. Unless we get some that get multiple suggestions, which has happened. There's some movies out there that a lot of people are asking us to watch for the show. And Patreon, if it's a suggestion from a Patreon donor, that gives it a little boost as well. So thanks for that.
Yeah, we can be bribed.
Obviously. So guys, thank you so much for joining us for our October 2017 Patreon Halloween edition. And be on the lookout next month for a brand new Patreon exclusive show that just you Patreon members get access to. Until next time, I'm Sheldon.
I'm Mike.
And thank you again for being a Patreon donor for The Graveyard Shift. In both cases, what the hell is a cases? In both cases. Okay, clap there.